But just so Krystle realizes how amazing I am at data, read what that says right there, please. I didn't even look. I'm not even looking.
Sam Zell in the early 90s during the savings and bank crisis used to say, stay alive till 95. That's what it was, yes. Stay alive till 95.
That's pretty amazing.
And
I read your mind. You were going to say that.
Okay.
And I literally, guys, do you see this? All right, everybody. Well, welcome back to another exciting. See how exciting it is right here? This is real estate. Ready? This is how exciting real estate is. Ready and go. It's another exciting episode to get in the podcast with K&K.
Get in the podcast? Get in the cash flow game?
Sorry. But we should just leave that because this is kind of...
You're so excited.
If you're in real estate, this is what's going on in your mind. You're losing your mind. For all of those people out there that are not in real estate, that are enjoying the La Vida Loca and not having a recession, I hope you're having a fantastic time out there. Because us in real estate, it is a depression, recession. It's amazing, right, Krystle? Like how a couple sectors can just be feeling the pain and then everybody else is like, it's like
another day in paradise. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this episode title, as you arrived and you saw it and maybe you clicked on it because you're like, survive till 25. What in the hell does that mean?
I actually learned this. I forget who said that. It's like some billionaire that owns a bunch of the one hotels guy who keeps saying that. But hang on, just before you say that, I know you're going to correct me because you're always right. No. I was talking to a client last week, and he said there was another person who was saying that back in the 70s or 80s.
You want me to tell you who it was? Because I have it right here.
Okay.
So just so Krystle realizes how amazing I am at data, read what that says right there, please. I didn't even look. I'm not even looking.
Sam Zell in the early 90s during the savings and bank crisis used to say, stay alive till 95. That's what it was, yes. Stay alive till 95.
That's pretty amazing. And I read your mind. You were going to say that. Okay. And I literally, guys, do you see this?
Stay alive, survive till 25 is the new slogan.
Did you like that? He said...
Stay alive till 95.
His was stay alive till 95. We're saying survive till 25 or stay alive, whatever.
Yeah,
so anyways, that was the late Sam Zell who actually passed away this year. If you guys don't know who Sam Zell is, you should definitely look him up. But he was one of the most successful real estate investors of our time. I think before he passed, I think they had 60,000 units.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyways, yes, a lot of people now are saying this survive till 25 or, what's the other one? Stay alive till 25. Is that work? I mean, is that what we think? Is that what's going on? But this is just what people are now saying is. And so I think a lot of people are saying survive till 25 because they're looking at when they think rates are officially going to be back to something where it's palatable. And what that means is you can actually swallow it and digest it and make sense of deals.
Yeah, that sounds fun. So basically we have another year of exciting times ahead of us, potentially.
Well, so as Krystle knows, I watch a lot of interviews, I read a lot of blogs, I listen to a lot of people, and I will tell you, when you listen to stuff week over week, as much as I do, it's amazing to watch people change that said one thing 2 years ago, another thing 6 months ago, and now all of a sudden it was like, because remember, Krystle, what was it 6 months ago, 8 months ago? Recession was off the table. Remember, it's like, oh, no recession. All of a sudden, the R words come back where a lot of CEOs are saying if they're not going to call it a recession. If everybody thinks we're going to have a recession, it's more of a slow down or a consumer correction.
But it's going to happen.
Yeah. And so before I jump in this episode, let's just do this for a minute because I was thinking about this episode. Let's just stop and go backwards and remember where we came from and where we are. 2020, January, I come in this office and I said, hey, Krystle, these guys are all at Davos, which is in Switzerland. And I said, this is very weird. She's like, what's that? And I said, I don't know what this means, but they interviewed Jamie Dimon, all these big guys. One guy got on there and he says, I'm not worried about anything. What? I'm only worried about one thing. And she's like, but what? One thing? Okay, what is it? It's this virus or thing going around. She's like, she's like, what are you talking about? You know that thing in China? She's like, that thing in China? He goes, yeah, that's going to shut down the whole world and stuff. The lady at the time was like, so you're not worried about a recession. You're not about inflation. You're not worried about anything. You're about a virus that's going to shut down the entire world. He goes, yes, but nobody else said that. I don't know what to tell you. And I came in here and said, hey, this guy said this. I don't know what it means, but he seemed very serious. He's a smart guy. Sure enough, here we come March, we go into shutdown. The reason why I'm saying this is because we got to look at the data where we came from, where we're at. So March, April of 2020, everything literally, if you look at charts, as we know, it just stopped. We went into shutdown, stopped. Consumer spending fell down, everything, right? Everything, like 20, 30 million people got laid off, right? So it just stopped. But at that time, what happened? Savings rate went from, let's just call it, we'll be nice, 5% to 35%. People that have $500,000 in the bank account.
And I know they say we went into a recession for like a super short period of time there, but it really kind of saved us from going into a recession at that time, right? I mean, in 2020, we were supposed to be going into a recession
100%.
but instead the world just shut down.
We already got into some slowdown for sure. So savings rate goes from 5 to 35%, never hit that level. People that have $500,000 in the bank account, whatever that number adds up to, let's say they had 150 billion total in all their accounts, that number went to $2 trillion. Credit card debt went from 950 million. They paid it down to $700 million. Cool?
Yep.
And so at that point in time, and we couldn't spend any money. So people weren't paying their bills. They're paying down their credit cards. The consumer had never looked so good in their life. So we start opening up the world. And what happens? Well, we start consuming. And so what happened is that I tell everybody, now let's go October of 2023, right? When we shoot this.
Right.
How out of the $2 trillion, Krystle, how much is left?
Like 120.
Okay, cool. It's
billion?
Zero.
Oh.
The credit card debt that was 700 million is at what?
1.2 trillion.
Correct.
Yeah.
The savings rate that is 35% is at what?
I don't know. 10.
Okay, zero.
Wow.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Tell everybody, we keep and I'm not talking what's going to happen. I'm talking about what is going on. So when we look backwards. And I said, Krystle, tell me about January of this year, right?
Yeah.
Did people have more savings?
Way more.
Did people have more equity on their credit card?
They had more, room on their credit card.
Cool.
They had lower credit
Interest rates were lower.
Yep.
Cool. And so the consumer, the buying power and everything was a lot better.
Yes.
So as we move through, that's getting worse.
Right.
So what my point is, if we're the Fed, if we're anybody, and we're looking backwards at a time that where we came out of the pandemic. And guys, remember, it's hard to believe, but last Christmas was probably the first official Christmas that everybody, and you know this, Krystle, like where people were like, they felt good enough to go see their family or go international.
Right.
Like this summer, even this lady that came on, I think it was Citibank or credit card company, she goes, boy, a lot of people visit Europe and Greece and Italy. Like they got the boom. They got hit boom.
Yeah.
So when we look backwards and we keep comparing and we're drawing in that data, that is inaccurate data. 6 months ago is not the same of today. The rates, everything is not the same, right? So when we keep saying there's inflation and the consumer's doing strong, good, I'm like, so today, right now, are they?
No, they've pretty much run out of rope. Like they've run out of rope now.
Cool. So what we had, and on top of that, what just happened in October for 45 million people?
Student debt.
Cool. Student loan payments are due.
Yeah.
The average student loan payment is $350. That's the average. That's 70.
When they're already feeling
that's
squeezed.
70 billion if it's paid.
Right.
70 billion a month out of the economy. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
Think about 70 billion. Mm-hmm. So when you add all this stuff up, I'm not talking about what's going to happen for it. I just look at what's going on in the consumer right now. That's not for the average person. That's not good. And on top of that, rents have gone up. Your minimum credit card payment, the rate's gone up.
Yep.
If you bought a new car, the payment's higher because rates are higher.
Yep.
If you have a business line of credit, it's higher. If you have an unsecured line of credit, if you have a HELOC,
everything.
The only thing that people did during that time is they locked in on these crazy ass low mortgage rates. 92% have a 5% or less. 75% have a 4% or less. 27% have a 3% or less. Depending on where you live, like if you're in a more affluent area, people might have more of a 3% could be 50%, right? So anyways, so now that we have all this information I'm not asking everybody's doing, I'm telling you, if that is what the data shows, all this, we had stimulus from the government. We had stimulus from the credit cards. We had stimulus from all that money sitting in the savings account, right?
Yep.
It's all been worked through. So when you look back last Christmas, that's why I bring it up, that was a good Christmas. People spent money, they were traveling. That was like the last hurrah. And then we got to summer, and I think this was the last hurrah of summer. So now we're moving forward. What I say is, it seems like everybody keeps saying, all these analysts and people, that we're going to go back to more normal spending. So when you talk to somebody, if you go to Vegas and you're driving around an Uber, or you're talking to somebody that knows Vegas, they will tell you, the person 2 years ago that came out, they're like, I'm going to go stay at Aria. Now they're like, well, I'm going to
stay at Circus.
No, well, it's a joke, but that's what Krystle's laughing is. They're like, I'm going to go have that fancy steak dinner. Now I'm going to have something. So when somebody's around town, they're like, oh, should I go to the steakhouse or do I go eat at the Rubio's?
People are having to think about their spending more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And gasoline's high. So this Christmas already right now, they're expecting low retail, the lowest part-time seasonal hiring since 2007. And so Krystle and I were having this debate. I said, okay, Krystle, so interest rates are at the 10-year Treasury. Now let's talk about the thresholds. So the threshold we kept hitting was 425. And we're like, oh, we're going to stay there. We're good.
We busted right through that.
Well, we busted it. Then the threshold went to 450.
We busted through it.
Now the threshold is 5.
Was 472. Busted through that. And now the next, the next resistance level is 5. And I think we're going to bust right through that too.
We've been working on this for the past few months.
You know, we always want to bring as much value as we possibly can. And our partner, Prime Corporate Services, is all about bringing you a service you can't get anywhere else at a price you can't get anywhere else. Whether you're new to owning a business or owning a property, or you're an experienced property owner or investor, Prime Corporate Services is not only going to help you, but they're going to make the process so much easier. So if you book a call, the first thing they're going to do for you is help you understand what your business structure should look like, your corporate structure, tax planning, estate planning, all of that. Maybe you're saying, I'm brand new to starting a business and all this sounds foreign and complicated. Remember, this company helps new people just getting started every day. They're going to help you form the entity that's best for you and walk you through the process. Before I found this company, we paid thousands of dollars to other attorneys, CPAs, and consultants to try to understand exactly how we need to be structured to be as protected as possible. We've also gone the other route and used online platforms to form entities which unnecessarily put us at risk. You guys, you don't have to do that with this company. They'll do all of these things for you at a reasonable price, so you never have to think about saving money at the expense of exposing yourself to liability. We've searched high and low, and you will not find this much value anywhere else. All you have to do is schedule a free call today. Just go to primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. Once again, that's primecorporateservices.info/GITCG. We'll also leave the info for you in the show notes.
So basically, we are busting through, the 10-year Treasury is almost 480.
478. And there's a lot of factors going into that are basically going to keep treasuries elevated for a while.
Look at the last 5 days.
Yeah, I know.
Treasuries have shot up almost from this low. It's basically we're entering almost, if it goes to 50 basis points.
Yeah.
So
we're at 38 basis points in 5 days.
Yeah. So what I did is I went back to a time where treasuries were this high. Mm-hmm. After some type of economic push, boost, whatever you want to call it, right? Whether it's from stimulus or whether it's from bad loans we made, things like that. So I went back to 2007. Mm-hmm. It was March of 2007. The 10-year Treasury was higher than this.
It was 515.
Yeah, I think it went up to 563. Yeah. And so it went up to there. And from March to December, the 10-year Treasury had gone from 5, like Krystle said, 515, 5, whatever it is, over 5. And
to 4.
Came down to 150 basis points.
Yeah.
It's 350 or something.
Yeah.
And then after that, it came down to basically from the peak to the low part of it.
It was 12 months, right?
I think it was 12, maybe whatever it was. We can look. It came down, I think, 300 basis points. Mm-hmm. So,
and it's hard to say if that's going to take another 12 months to cycle through the system, because they also raised rates at an unprecedented rate, right? I mean,
yeah, never before.
Historically, fast increase in rates. So now you're are they going to have to do the same when they bring rates down? So is this going to be a trickle down? Are we going to go down over 9 months, 6 months, or 12 months? It's hard to say.
So we've got 2007, the peak, and then this is 2008, right? So it's about August.
Yeah.
So
it's
right
from
here.
March to August. So that was
a year and a half.
Wait, what?
2007.
Yeah.
It's about August.
Yeah.
And that
was
that 10-year was below just 225.
That's closer to a year and a half.
So a year and a half.
Yeah.
So what we were looking at is last time, so we just came out of a boom and we had to jack rates up to slow this down. We're moving a little faster, I feel like, than last time. So what?
We're moving a lot faster.
Yeah. So what you're seeing here is it took a year and a half for Treasuries to drop. Let's just call it 300 basis points.
Yeah. So how long is it going to take for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why I'm telling you all this is we are at a point where the consumer is slowing.
Like shit's breaking now. It's breaking.
The commercial real estate market's breaking because everything's expensive. The residential market is broken because there's no inventory and people are buying or paying at these crazy...
Right, but also people ran out of their savings. I think we're going to start seeing higher unemployment. There's a lot of
We already went through that. So then next comes, is the consumer slowing or is it the job loss first or consumer slowing and that trickles the job losses? So the Fed keeps saying that in order for them to pivot, to cut, to change their vocabulary, to do anything, they're going to probably either see the job losses or the consumer really fall off a cliff. It's going to be one or the other.
Right.
So what do we have ahead of us? Christmas. Mm-hmm. That's the biggest retail
shopping event of the year.
Yep. And that's where retails make 80% of the money. So the good news about that is we're approaching that time. And with that being said, I think we're going to have a barometer in the next two months of seeing how the consumer is. Also, they're going to be starting Black Friday way earlier. They're starting the sales way earlier. They're already, like I said, they predicted the slowest hiring since 2007, right before we went into a correction period. Or the Fed, let's just say when the Fed pivoted.
Right.
And the market went down, the 10-year went down.
Right.
Just as the Fed's funds rate was higher, Treasuries came down, the Fed funds rates, the whole thing came down.
So now we're talking about what you think and not the data specifically. No, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the Fed's going to raise prime in November?
Okay, so we know what so I got my notes here. The Fed is looking at, in my opinion, is the jobs. They want to see the
job losses.
Every Thursday that comes out, the initial jobless claims. They need to see that number above 324,000 for at least 4 to 6 weeks. We literally haven't even got to 300. So that's one. Number two, they're not saying it, but if that consumer really slows down, that will get their attention too, because they know job losses are going to come after that. So inventory for real estate,
still low.
We're not seeing the pickup there. I'm not at this point in time. I'm least concerned about that. The consumer, I'm more concerned about the consumer. Employment, we just talked about. And then what are the biggest challenges that we're going to be facing in the next 6 to 8 months or a year or whatever it's going to be until these rates come down? And that's what we're kind of discussing now. So what lies ahead and where are the opportunities?
All right.
Things get better as where inflation comes lower. Things get a little better where the Fed can pivot and rates come down. We're going to have this final squeeze, push, high rates. And look, we could sit here for 2 months. We could sit here for 3 months. If we get a bad Christmas reading on the consumer, it could help us. If we get that, Treasuries might just start falling because they're going, okay, the Feds are going to pivot. Remember, the Treasuries and the bond market is usually ahead of what the Fed's doing. If the consumer comes in low, they're going to start signaling, there's no way he's going to pivot. He's going to change his. All he has to do is change his lingo saying, we're concerned, we're watching, this is changing, we're noticing employment, like any of these things, it's more of the vocabulary that can change the rates, not just him
as
driving
people are
down.
Broken and lenders are like doing more loan mods, working things out, not trying to take back real estate. People are losing their jobs, they're missing payments. That's going to start putting pressure on the Fed to, we can't let it go too far. We can't break the entire economy for a very long time. They're going to have to make that shift to go, okay, now we have to stimulate the economy a little bit to get it back on its feet.
And also, for them, it's when they start cutting, it's them showing that they're trusting the process. They're believing we're coming down, but they want to make sure. I think, look, if you ask the Fed, he's probably hoping it's a slower Christmas because he doesn't want it. He's like, please.
Yeah. Well,
so don't go spend all your money on Christmas presents. That's like telling people, why do we help? Quit spending money. My gosh. And energy.
Well, GDP is coming down too. So.
Yeah, we might have a pretty big GDP quarter we'll see what happens. But anyways, guys, always appreciate you guys listening. Love you guys. And then, we got a lot of fun podcasts coming up. I did some interviews. I'm actually headed to Housing Wire. Krystle and I are going to Austin this weekend. I'm headed to Housing Wire. We're going to have probably 4 to 6 great interviews there. It's going to be a bunch of data nerds, a bunch of people that are involved in housing, but really we're going to be, I watch them so much, I'm not going to ask the obvious questions. I'm going to try to get scenarios of what could happen in the housing market. And look, what kind of goes with residential kind of falls with commercial because we're all talking about rates
100%.
here. All talking about rates here, guys.
And to be honest with you, most of us in commercial, we are in the housing business. So it's like, whether it's single family homes, 4-unit homes, or, 100-unit homes. I mean, a lot of this stuff does follow. And there's a lot more residential data out there that we can use to our benefit on the commercial side as well. So thanks.
All right, guys.
If you're already a real estate investor, you know that aside from cash flow, you also get huge tax benefits by investing in real estate. But are you taking full advantage of all the potential tax benefits? We've been working with Tim Looney at CSSI for a few years now, and he's saved us and our clients hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in taxes doing cost segregation studies on their properties. Let me give you a few examples. We bought a property in 2019. If we had just used straight line depreciation, we would have saved about $18,750 in taxes. But because we did a cost seg, we saved $258,000. That's $239,350 more than standard straight line depreciation in the first year. The other great thing is, if you're classified as a real estate professional, you can apply this to other sources of income like W-2 or 1099 income, and you can also roll over any unused depreciation to future years. If you've owned your properties for a few years already, don't worry, you can still do a cost seg and save big on your taxes. This is not tax advice, so consult your CPA to see if you qualify to take advantage of these benefits. Call or text Tim at 318-469-9861 to get your complimentary property analysis. Once again, that's 318-469-9861. And I'll also include his information in the show notes. You guys don't want to miss out on these tax savings.